So oratory, the oratory update, so oratory's coming. You're hearing it every week. We want everyone to be a part of it. I'm not going to ask Dinkins to come up here with a mouthful of food, but yeah, if anyone from oratory calls on you for support, the answer is yes. And in any way possible, hopefully financially, and we're still fine-tuning who's coming and how that's working. So keep your eyes and ears open for that.
Just one note on that tomorrow.
Oh, come on up, Lisa Marie. Yeah, come on. You can probably even embellish on that. Wait, we're going to flip it around. Yeah.
All right. So y'all let us know if you can hear Lisa Marie, because she's going to speak out real loudly.
We actually, all the regionals have been scheduled, and our first regional takes place at the WestJax. It's the WestJax Council is hosting the first regional. Wilson's competing. I can't remember the rest of them. I only remember Wilson's. That's my school. Doesn't matter about the rest. Anyway, we do have everybody scheduled, and it's just, I mentioned last week, what a tremendous effort. I feel honored to be a part of helping out in a small way with the oratory committee, but what is being done is just amazing. And so, Dinkins and Steve and Leslie and the whole crew has just done an amazing job with oratory. So, first region tomorrow.
Right.
So that was your hockey boys? No, I've heard a whole lot more from the hockey boys.
And if you haven't joined the dinner club, you need to join the dinner club.
Oh, the dinner club. So basically, what Dinkins is talking about is that we're really looking for you to sponsor a table, right? So that's when you kind of come to the dinner club, and any sponsorship is appreciated. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Lisa Marie.
My pleasure.
Yes, thank you, Lisa Marie. Yeah, Lisa Marie, right. It's like, oh, I only have a couple of words to say. remind them. That's yeah. Right. Can always count on you. Thank you very much. So I'm also going to remind everyone, again, as I always do, not to forget to RSVP for everything you're interested in attending so that we can take care of things for you and have everything all prepared. And I want to thank you, those of you who have been doing that. It's been a big help for us. It's a big help for Patty, and helps us keep everything in line. So Julie Kalinsky, is Julia with us today, Patty?
There she is.
Good.
I'm here. Hi, thank you. Thank you.
On this Saturday, don't you?
Yes, we are doing the run. First of all, thank you to all the members who have kind of chimed in and pitched in and joined the team and donated. All the proceeds are going to the Salzbacher Center for the Black Tie Blue Jean 5K. And as of today, I believe we're at $2,200, which is amazing, over halfway to the goal. And the Rotaract members are really grateful, as am I and Salzbacher. So yes, we are doing an actual walk outside on the beach. We're going to meet at Seawalk Pavilion at 9:30 a.m. on Saturday morning. And I hope to have the t-shirts by then. We're pending, waiting for the vendor to confirm, but I should have the t-shirts for you guys then. And then those that signed up and maybe aren't able to join us, I will have them also at the meeting the following Tuesday. So thank you. The response has been amazing, and we are well on the way to furnishing at least 2 rooms for Salzbacher. So thanks a lot.
So I'd also like to remind everyone how the virtual aspect of this works. So you don't have to be there Saturday. You can sign up and run your own virtual, walk your own virtual 3 miles. It's not that much. You can do it in as many phases as it takes. So all we want to do is get some documentation. You have to tell us how long it took you. And we'd like to see some photographs. We want to be able to promote this. So I would like for everyone to get in on this.
Is there a prize for the most days that it takes?
Would you like one? Would you like one, Mike? I'd be happy to present you with that.
Okay. Let me know what the period.
Yeah, you just tell me what it takes. And that's what we're going to do, Mike. Yeah, that sounds great. All right. Past President Jason Burnett, would you like to introduce our visitors and guests today?
Yes, I would, President Tom. I'm very pleased to announce that we have Ike Sherlock from the West Jacksonville Club. And I'm assuming that He's here to watch to see how we do things right at the South Jacksonville Club and to learn from us. Why else would he be here? And I'd like to make you aware of that little known tradition that visiting president-elects usually bring a small gift for those that introduce them, such as a bottle of wine or a bottle of whiskey. And you can just give it to Patty at your next meeting and we'll just mark this one up. But thank you for being with us. Also, we also have with us, I believe Karen Bowling has brought a couple of guests with her today that I believe that she'll probably introduce during her remarks. And so with that, I will mute myself while we sing the welcome song.
Oh,
Showtime.
but you gotta sing.
Yeah. Now, step away from the mic. Welcome to today. So glad you came along, glad you came our way. Our thankful fellowship is yours, sunshine and green. We here in Rotary say welcome again. All about the song.
I think we sound awful.
Say that again?
I think we sound awful.
Right. I mean, you know, no place to go but up. Okay. Aaron, would you like to introduce our speaker today?
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my great pleasure today to introduce my friend Karen Bowling. Karen began her director of the Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation at the University of North Florida in January of 2019, and shortly after assumed additional responsibility as the Vice President of Jobs with the goal of connecting employers with ready-to-work offerings. Karen graduated from the University of North Florida and started her career in television news after an internship with WTLV TV 12 here in Jacksonville. She transitioned to a career in healthcare marketing and management before catching the entrepreneurial bug and co-founded Solantic, a walk-in urgent care company now operating under the name CareSpot. After serving as CEO for 10 years, she joined Mayor Alvin Brown as the Chief Administrative Officer with the City of Jacksonville. In addition to her entrepreneurial career, Karen has been on many notable boards. She serves on the Fourth Circuit Judicial Nominating Commission, is immediate past chair of the Florida State College District Board of Trustees, and serves on the board of Security Devices International, a Boston-based less lethal weapons company. She's a graduate of both Leadership Jacksonville and Leadership Florida. Please help me introduce and welcome Karen Bowling, the most interesting woman in Jacksonville.
The best part of working and doing community service and being involved in organizations is the people you meet, right, and the relationship. So it's been great to get to know Aaron. So thank you so much for having me, and I'm so glad to be back and see so many people that were in Rotary when I was here some 10 years ago. So let's see if we could have our first slide here. Take it away, Patty. You don't want me to sing again. I promise you that. There we go. It's Happy New Year. I hope your new year is off to a good start. And we can just move right on into that second slide. So Rotary, it's been a while since I've been here, but I remember that there were a lot of entrepreneurs and founders in this group. So just by show of hands, I know we can't see our friends that are joining us via Zoom, but how many people started your own company, running your own company? Wow, almost everybody. There are like 2.5 million small businesses in the state of Florida, and they employ like half of the public sector employees. So quite the powerhouse for job creation. So when you think back, when you started your businesses, did you have help? Did you have somebody that helped you write your business plan? Did you have somebody that found you advisors and mentors and funders and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, most people say, no, didn't have that. And so the world is changing because in an effort to make sure that like these small businesses succeed and have the best chance of succeeding, you see programs like accelerators and incubators now becoming more prevalent in Jacksonville. So that's exactly what we do at the Center for Entrepreneurship. So Patty, next slide. So exactly what is the Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation? Well, first and foremost, it's a space. And we are located downtown in the renovated Barnett building at the corner of Laura and West Adams Street. So we have 2 floors in that building. The 4th floor is where the Center for Entrepreneurship is, and the 5th floor is where they're doing master's level teaching for people who live and work near downtown. So once an entrepreneur applies to the center, and when we put out the applications for the first cohort, we got, if you can believe it, over 135 applications. We were just shocked at that kind of demand. So a would-be entrepreneur, would-be founder applies to the center. Through a selection process, they get to come into the program. Once they're in the program, they get space for up to a year in the center. And then they're supported by people to help them write a business plan, mentors, advisors, workshops, speakers. And then we have an advisory council that pays dues. We have 13 members on our advisory council. They pay $10,000 a year with a 2-year commitment. That is the selection committee. And with those funds, we contract with advertising agencies, law firms, accounting firms to provide professional services. So our goal is, once we have a graduate and we put them in front of, a banker or, an investor, that every I is dotted, every T is crossed, and it's really a quality product that comes out of the program. And I think important to note is that the university doesn't take any equity. There's no profit sharing, so it's like completely free to the founder. Next slide, please. So how did this all come about? It was the vision of the Coggin College of Business Dean Mark Dawkins. His vision was to have a Center for Entrepreneurship as part of the business school at the University of North Florida. And so through a relationship with Luther and Blanche Coggin, they generously contributed $1 million to get the center up and running. So very, very generous gift. Next slide, please. So I'll just hit some of the highlights. I was hoping I'd be able to see that, but not so much. So the center opened, we actually had our ribbon cutting in February of 2019. And then we started like building this program from scratch, writing the applications, deciding like, are we gonna focus on a specific industry, a specific demographic, exactly what is it we're going to be. And so we did that, got the applications out, selected the first cohort in June, and the first program launched in August. And then they graduated in September of this year. And then we've just brought into the program the second cohort, which is entirely focused on health and medical startups. And I'll be telling you a little bit more about that in just a minute. So one thing that's interesting in this next slide, you'll see we selected 14 companies to come into the first program. It was a very, very diverse group, different industries, just diverse all the way around. If you could hit the next slide, Patty. So those are the 14 companies and quite a variety. I was reading an article the other day that only 20 women founders have had companies that have gone public since 1817.
What?
Only 20 women have founded companies that have gone public since 1817
In Jacksonville?
in the world. Yeah, it's amazing. So in this cohort and in our graduating class, I'm happy to say that 3 of the 6 are women. And so I have a little video. I want you to hear from them. You're going to hear a minute video from 3 of the founders. One, Drew Messer, who founded a company called Urban SDK that does urban mapping. And then you'll hear from Alexis Peterson, who formed a company called Adelaide's Treasure. And Adelaide's Treasure makes hair and face products for Black men and women. And then Brianna Kilcullen has started a company called Enact, and she makes towels made out of hemp. So natural antibacterial, they last a long time. And so Patty, if you'll just hit our video.
The center has been tremendously helpful, from accounting services to marketing to legal. It has been a very full and productive year because of the center. I was able to come out of the center with a business plan and a strategy for my business that I couldn't have imagined before. And so I really believe that the support is the largest asset of the center.
The center gave us not only access to phenomenal physical space, office and new facilities, but it also gave us access to mentorship. To date, we've raised over $1.5 million in venture capital funds. A lot of that's come from the mentors that we connected with here.
As a young company, you want to build culture. And in order to build culture, you have to bring your employees into one common place. And as a young company, we didn't have the resources to do that. And UNF provided a space where we could collaborate internally and then also be able to learn how other companies were starting to grow as well.
The center has helped me personally just not feel alone. Being a founder, sometimes it can be really scary. Getting to feel connected to other people who are trailblazing, even if you're not in the same space, and they're thinking outside of the box and they're building something that they believe in, gives you this really good sense of camaraderie.
Very good. Thank you, Patty. So as I mentioned, the first group graduated in September. At that same time, we brought in the health and medical cohort. And so we decided to focus on the industry to see if it was easier to provide services, because everybody's in the same industry. It would be easier to get mentors and advisors and things that they're all interested in. And the other reason we did it was because of the majority of the 135 companies that applied for the first cohort were health and medical. Well, so then when we decided to focus on that, we didn't get as many applications. We got about 10, but part of that, I think, is the COVID situation that we're in. So we admitted 7 health and medical companies, and Patty, you can see those on the next slide. A variety, a lot of technology, as you might imagine. This company, Synergena, has a air purifier or air scrubber that eliminates COVID. And so another way that we can work with the university is we have a group of university researchers that are doing the research and validating that product. And so we took a real wide kind of view of what health is, including animal health. And so one of our founders that's in the program now, you're going to hear from. I actually met Pamela and Scott Fortenberry through their interior design business. And one day Pamela was telling me about this idea she had. And I said, I wish you'd come down to the center and see if you think we can help you. And so I'll let her pick up the story from there. Pamela?
Thank you for asking me to be here today. I'm so excited to share with you and to have the opportunity to be in front of you today. I believe that anyone given this opportunity would hope to have a captive audience. That would be a goal. And I want to share with you that I gave that a lot of thought. And I'd like to ask you to go on a journey with me for what that would look like to me. Well, actually, each of you would be in a tub. You're provided drinks, you're given food, and you're also provided medical attention if you need it. And people can come see you. But here's the thing. You're uncomfortable because you've been there for 50 years. You're captive. So, in introducing myself, I'm here because I want to help you out of that tub. My name, again, is Pamela Fortenberry, and I'm the founder of Free Orcas Forever. I'd like to share with you how that came to be. My 11-year-old nephew was having a sleepover, and we were sharing in our passion of orca. And he was telling me all the new things that he had learned from Noah. And he began to share with me about an orca that he felt very sad for. Her name's Lolita. She's in the Miami Sea Aquarium, and she's been there for 50 years. She was of the first capture when this business began. She's 20 feet long and her tank is 20 feet deep. She cannot dive the depth of her body. She has to swim 1,762 laps a day to equate to what she would be able to do in the wild. So of course, when he shared this with me, he was sad, and it made me sad. And I said, oh, I wish I were younger. I wish I could do something. This child put his pencil down and he folded his arms and he looked at me and he said, it's never too late. And in that moment, I knew I had to do something. I knew I had to act. And I'll share with you, I went to bed that night and I believe that God laid the words on my heart for the book Still Water. I have written the book and it will be available this month. It's finishing in publication this month. It's a watercolor book and it tells the story from an orca's perspective of being in captivity and longing to return to the sea. Our society has come to a place to recognize that captivity should be a part of our past and not our future. We're responsible for what we in the future. And I do not want to leave for them the impression that it's okay to take something from its environment for our entertainment and not return it. I don't want that to be our legacy, captivity. We're in support of a movement that's actually been in place for 25 years. After the release of the documentary Blackfish in 2013, there was a momentum and an awareness. We're excited to join that momentum and move this forward. Good news about 2020.
2021.
2020.
Good news?
The good news in 2020. It's kind of hard to imagine, right? There were 2 beluga whales that are in Iceland that were in captivity for 9 years. They've been successfully released into an ocean sanctuary and they're thriving. This is not a movement that we're talking about anymore, it's happening. And we're excited to be a part of this movement. We have our plans for the book this month. We'll be on Amazon, we'll be in Books A Million. What I'm excited to share about the book as well is that people that have read the book prior to publication are very excited about the artwork. And they want to buy the artwork separate of the book. So we're moving that into canvas art and a variety of options for that. We've also tiered product to support our business and to continue to grow. And one of our main goals is that our profits can help with the development of the ocean sanctuary. I'd like to share with you a few of the companies that we're aligning with. The Lummi Nation is one. They are an Indian nation in Puget Sound, which is where Lolita was taken from. They believe she is part of their family and they want her home. We're also partnering with the Whale Sanctuary Project and a company named Munchkin. Munchkin is the leading global baby, toddler, and consumer products company. The CEO, Stephen Dunn, was invited to learn about our movement. Prior to coming to the presentation, Stephen had an MRI. His story that he tells is that while he was laying in the MRI, he became aware of what he thought an orca might feel like in captivity. I'd like to share that he joined our movement, and right now he is the leading financial supporter of $1 million pledge. We're very excited. One thing I'd like to share about his business as well is that they had an orca bath toy for children. And they said, Mr. Dunn said, I want to remove that from our line. I want our principles ahead of our profits. And as they rolled that out, there's the understanding that an orca does not belong in a tub. So Scott and I are so very thankful with UNF. I had shared my story with Karen and her excitement of understanding that I was a designer. You know, I'm called to write a book. But in learning so much about the Orca and what we can do, and to be a part of that, I'm just thrilled and excited. And the University Entrepreneur and Innovation Program has just catapulted us to be able to achieve. We know we're on course for what our hopes and goals are. They're real. And I'd like to leave each of you with an invitation. And that is to get involved, make the choice for free Orcas forever. The most powerful thing you can do to support us is not buy a ticket. Thank you so much just for an opportunity to share our story and to ask you just to join us, visit our website. Any information that you need should be there, but we are excited to have an opportunity to talk to you personally if you'd like to. So thank you so much. Back up and answer questions at the end. And I'm just going to wrap up with this next slide to say that you're probably familiar with a company called Swisher International. So Swisher is in the process of kind of a major rebranding, if you will. And one of their major initiatives is diversity and inclusion. And so as a result, they basically gifted us $50,000 to run a cohort for underrepresented entrepreneurs. And so we received 58 applications. We did selection last week, again, just looking for those that we thought had the best chance for success. And so we've accepted 20 people into the program, and that kicks off in February. And after that, again, I've just been kind of seeing what the market needs and wants. And so we're looking at doing something with just UNF students, maybe a big idea competition on, solving a problem around education. We're looking at doing a transportation and logistics cohort. So if you have any ideas, please feel free to send them my way. So, and then the next slide just kind of shows, it really does take a village. And I can't tell you the hundreds of people that have volunteered their time to help these startups in the center. And I mean, from advisors to mentors to corporate sponsors to each of them has the opportunity to work with a UNF intern, which is good for the intern. So if they're working on the accounting module, they might work with an accounting student. The same with when they get to marketing, the same when they get to maybe they need an engineering student. But that student gets to learn entrepreneurship. And I know Pam and Scott had an intern they really loved working with. And what was her major? Yeah, biology major, who also worked at the zoo and had an interest in animals. And so, I mean, that program just really works with the interns. But as you know, I think about 82% of businesses fail because of cash flow issues. And so I think all of the founders would tell you that their single biggest issue is funding. And so most of them either personally fund their companies, it's family and friends, it's crowdfunding, it's borrowing from family and friends. Some get some bank loans, but even that is like really challenging when they look for 3 years of revenue and you don't have any revenue. And so one of the things that the new dean at the Coggin College of Business is looking at is establishing a fund so that when entrepreneurs come through our program, that there is, some opportunity to do some funding there. So I'll be real excited to see that go. But nationally, only 3% of new businesses are funded by angels. So it's just a very, very small percentage. So with that, I think that wraps us up. I thank you for your attention, and Pamela and I will both be happy to answer any questions you might have. At least we'll try to answer any questions you have. Yes, Judge Wilkerson.
Karen, the idea comes from for yourself, and secondly, are there others associated with other colleges and universities around the country?
Yes, absolutely. That is a great question.
Yeah.
So.
Could you also just sort of generally repeat the question?
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
And ask them to
absolutely.
speak up because we're seeing if we could hear people that are. So if you ask a question, if you stand up and then speak up loudly, we're trying to see if we could hear it through the microphone today.
Where is the microphone?
It's right there.
So the question is, where did the idea for the Center for Entrepreneurship come from? And are there other colleges and universities that have something similar? So the idea actually came from Mark Dawkins, who was the Coggin College of Business dean at the time. He actually had most previously worked at, I think, the University of Georgia, where they did have a similar center. And so when he came here, it was very much, just part of his vision and goals to get a center established. And one of the first things he did was he put together a group of about 20 people who were involved, like both in business and the entrepreneurial world, and looked at like what are the resources available in Jacksonville. So you have PS27, which is an accelerator. So they look for companies that have been, maybe in business a year or two. There's Beaver Street Enterprises. The Jim Moran Institute has a program. So when looking at all of those programs, what he found what was missing is where could I go if I just have an idea? I don't know if I could turn it into a business. How would I vet it? How would I know? Where would I start? And so that's where our center is focused. Again, we're just trying to figure out what's the real need. And that's why we're trying a number of different things and talking to people all the time to figure out, how we can serve this community the best. And then when I came on board in January of 2019, that's the first thing I did. I went to 3 or 4 centers around the state and did a lot of research. This program is probably like the richest program I've seen in terms of like the value of what's offered and not taking like any equity. So a lot of them use their space for like it's co-work space. And so they charge rent. And then when you pay rent, then you get the services that are associated. So it truly is. I mean, it's, not just saying it's a great program. It really is. It really is. Yes, sir.
Does your organization work with profits?
Absolutely. The question was, does your company work with not-for-profits as well as for-profits? Yes, absolutely. I'm trying to think if any of them, we actually are thinking about doing a social entrepreneurship cohort as well. But, if somebody who wanted to establish themselves as a not-for-profit, we absolutely would. And I think there are some in the new Swisher cohort. I don't think there are right now in the medical cohort. Not on purpose, anyway. But a lot of not-for-profits, it doesn't mean they don't make a profit, right? It's where they put it back, and they're great contributors to the community. So we absolutely welcome that opportunity. Somebody asked Pamela something. I'll repeat the question.
The question I would have is, how long or when did you come up with the idea, and what has been the timeline since the original idea?
I can answer the first part. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. And she said, I've got to get up and I've got to go write something down. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then that's how it all started. I can pretty much say that's how that first part started.
Thank you for your question. The question is, when did it begin and how long in being journey? That was August of last year, and currently for where we are now in the program. So yeah, and they've worked at lightning speed. I've never seen anybody like that is as dedicated. They're in the center all the time, like keeping things moving, taking advantage of really every single opportunity for help, right? Whether it's, an intern, a mentor, business coach.
Yeah. And through the center, we've had that opportunity. And so it's really helped us catapult. When I said that earlier, genuinely, I mean that because they've offered to us as we would share information, whether it's marketing or just our strategy for more than a book. And so they've just been so helpful to help us grow so quickly.
So her book will be out in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. And did you illustrate the book as well?
Oh, I wish I could keep you here for hours. There's so many parts and layers of the specifics of how they, and I would like to share with you that honestly, my neighbor across the street, elderly woman, had open heart surgery. And I knew that she loved art. Long story short, Scott said, I think you might want to talk to her about art. All of these things that have come to be from the publisher and the specifics of how they've come together, I believe, are through God. With going to talk to my neighbor, just with the idea, I'll ask you a question. I said, how do you feel about orca in captivity? I don't think they belong there. So I said, if it's all right with you, I'd like to come tomorrow and talk with you about what I'm doing, what's going on. And from there, I would share the words with her, share my idea of what I felt from the words. And she did every art page from there, the front and the back of the cover.
Beautiful water.
Oh, and
Absolutely
beautiful. I would like to just share with you, she came over with the first picture. And girls, we cry, right? And then there's this cry that you cannot stop crying, right? And she said, I don't know if you're gonna like it, but she handed it to me, and it was one of those uncontrollable, you've nailed every emotion that I have pictures. And so, and then the book just continued and more artwork. And so, I'm sorry, I could go on and on and on. So I'm excited that the book will be out this month, and then you'll get to experience it too. But that's how that came to be.
How many copies are you publishing?
We're starting with the 125 for right now. And then we have a commitment of a lot of those books already. And so we're excited about already knowing we're going to reorder and be ready to go again. So
Can you
pre-order.
can you pre-order the book online?
You will be able to at the end of this month. Okay, because I want to have the book in hand to be able to send. And I would be honored because you are, honestly, I'd like to share with you that you're my first presentation to tell my story and to tell about my book. But I'd love for you to be part of having the first book. So that would be wonderful.
I have another question. You said it's your first presentation. Is that one of the programs that your organization teaches us how to do a presentation in front of a crowd of people?
No.
Can you repeat that?
Oh, so the question is, you know, is one of the programs offered in the center, basically public speaking and putting together your presentation. It is absolutely, we've had some people ask, but most of the training that we've done has been more around a pitch to an investor. And so there have really not been a lot of opportunities like this. I did ask Pamela if she would speak at our center advisory council a couple of months ago. And she really did such a nice job. And it, you know, it just makes it makes it more real when you get to hear from somebody who really is starting a business. So are you thinking that maybe she should have been through the training? Was that the point?
No.
I'm just kidding. She does an awesome job. And especially like when these entrepreneurs are speaking from the heart, these are their babies, right? So, yeah. Yes, sir, Robert.
Sure. Y'all venture off the same opportunity with people coming out in occupation, an attorney, an accountant, a doctor. It doesn't really require some of the same skills, but requires different skills. Anything?
Did you just volunteer to mentor? Is that what I heard? Is that what I heard in there? No,
So
I think Robert was asking, and I couldn't hear very well with your mask. That's all right.
I was just asking you, you have folks that come through that ask to be mentored when they leave the state attorney's office, when they leave the public defender's office, when they want to become an accountant after working in public accounting.
Oh, do people come in who want to get mentored? Yes, absolutely. So, you know, our primary mission are these like entrepreneurial cohorts to help people launch a business. And so the 6 that graduated, like the requirement was that they launch their business, they're generating revenue, and they're building their teams. And so to have 6 do that like in a year is pretty cool. So that's our primary mission. But then around that, like there are a lot of people who are kind of toying with the idea of starting a company. And so we bring in speakers who can help them kind of look at what's involved in doing that, the steps and the process so that they can think about it.
So we have that, and then we have probably 15 different programs, and these are programs that are not necessarily for people who were part of the cohort, but we had 15 programs scheduled between March and June of last year that we had to cancel. And so we're hoping at any point that we can start getting that going again. One of the most successful was we had a local founder speakers bureau. Because so often, like when you think about local founders, you might think about a Shad Khan or a Wayne Weaver, Peter Brook, you think of those, but it is absolutely amazing how many companies, really, really successful companies, are based here that you just would never know. Like our first speaker was a man named Mike Bowling. No relation, sadly. So Mike worked on the assembly line at Ford, and he had a daughter who had like a health and medical issue, and so she used to always just carry around her doll. And he said, I wonder what I'm going to do when she gets to be 12 and 14 and carries a doll, and then what about boys? So he came up with this idea to create this stuffed dog. He went to 14 different manufacturers and finally found a manufacturer in Canada that would make his pound puppy.
Huh.
In 1986 and 1987, it was the #1 selling toy in the world. So about a year ago, he was approached. They wanted to bring back the pound puppy, and they started rolling that out at Christmas, but I don't think that it went as well as it could have, just because of COVID and the situation with like manufacturers and transportation. But they're looking at making a movie about him. He's now speaking around the country, but he was our first speaker. And oh my goodness, you could have heard a pin drop with him talking about, his boss saying, look, you're either going to go make toys or you're going to work at Ford. And he's like, well, if I don't work at Ford, how am I going to feed my family? But I'm really, passionate about this pound puppy. Just to hear like all of those, turning points and, just the, tipping points where just one person steps in to help you makes all the difference in the world. So it's a long way of saying we want to help anybody who has any interest in starting a business, helping a business, anything around that.
Are there from the Zoom audience? Give it a shot. I asked them before if anybody wanted to put something.
We'll give a shout out to Jason Burnett. He's on our foundation board at the University of North Florida. And a little piece of trivia, we shared the same birthday, June 15th. So I'm sure when he gets that wine from the West Side, he's going to share it. Right, Jason?
Absolutely.
Wow, that one-word answer from
I love
Jason.
it. Hey, it works for me.
You got to come around more often.
Maybe you just muted it.
Oh, he's got his dog with him.
Well, we have 3 minutes left. Any last questions?
So I'll just ask the obvious, Karen, are you seeing any big changes that have happened as a result of 2020 as you head into 2021?
What's interesting is there's still people who want to start a business. It just creates another opportunity. So one of the founders in the cohort actually had developed some technology that cleans like algae out of ponds and rivers, because Florida has such a big problem with that. And when COVID happened, he did a quick pivot using that same patented technology, created a device that is like an air purifier, air scrubber. And so we're in the process now of doing the validation with that. But, it's impacted some people, but created opportunities for others. But there continues to be demand for people who want to start a business. And in fact, so many people who have lost their job, and I don't want to go through this again. I'll start my own job or create my own. And I think the more people know that they can get some help, because I'd say the majority of the founders in the cohort now, they all have day jobs. So we have a couple of physicians, and so they work days, they work in the center nights and weekends. So we work around everybody's schedule and create like content so that it meets their schedule.
Anybody else have any other questions for Karen, Pamela, Scott? Anybody else got any questions?
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
yeah.
I
Karen,
want y'all to know I got the COVID shot, so can't get the COVID, he give me the COVID.
great. You don't even know what it is. As a thank you, we are making a contribution in your honor to the Rotary Foundation for vaccinating people against polio.
Oh my
So,
gosh,
there you
that's
go.
awesome.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
All right, so I'm going to say it again. Don't forget to RSVP. Don't forget to RSVP. We need to know what you all are up to. And I want to remind everyone that next week is our Founders Day, our annual Founders Day program. So we have a program and we have maybe some awards to give out. So, you know, if you may want to attend because you may be receiving one, right? You might be receiving something.
I'm not a founder.
We're taking too long to
I'm
do
looking
something.
like.
I know, right? Yeah. And I want to remind board members that we're meeting via Zoom tomorrow at 5 p.m. And I want to also remind everyone for Julia that Saturday is our, our walk, whether you're doing it virtually or live, Sea Walk Pavilion. And I think that covers it. So as we end this meeting, please join me in the Rotary motto. Service above self.
One profits one, serve the best.
See you next week.